Does Sony have the cinema crown? That's what we're answering today between the FX30 and the Blackmagic 6K Pro. Let's get into it. So some of you may be like, oh, Sony definitely has this, or oh, maybe Blackmagic Design has this, but I think it's time to insert my opinion into this and truly give the specs and the key specifications on what both cameras have to offer in the cinema universe. So starting off, we're going to start with the origin of the Blackmagic Design Pro and go over what it really has to offer. So the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro is an advanced technology handheld 6K digital film camera. It has the Super 35 high resolution HDR sensor, dual native ISO or ISO, EF lens mount, and direct recording to USB-C disc. The powerful model adds an adjustable HDR touchscreen with built-in ND filters and a large battery for a long runtime. But the really is, it's not that long. It only lasts you about an hour, which is not going to cut it if you only have one battery, or if you're filming something that's more than an hour long, and like I said, with one battery. Now, like I said, that entire paragraph seems like a handful, but it's really not. It's just basically scratching the surface of what the 6K has to offer. Now heading on over to price. So just the base for itself with no lens included, just the base, it is $2,535 flat. No, I mean, plus shipping, of course, if you're ordering it from the actual Blackmagic Design website, but that's it. Just no lens with the cables and chargers and batteries and all that, just $2,535. But the Sony FX30, heading on over to that, is $1,798,000, which is so much cheaper than the 6K, which also too, I'm putting in there, it's gonna be more expensive for the 6K because it shoots in 6K and not the FX30, but still, a little more cheaper. But up next, we're going to talk about what you can really shoot with the two cameras between 6K, 4K, and basically just the entire FPS. So starting off with the 6K Pro, you have already 6K up to 50 FPS. You have 6K up to 60 FPS, or if you want to go down to 5K, 60 FPS, 4K, 60 FPS, Ultra HD, which is basically just 1080, but a little higher up with 60 FPS. And then you have the 3K 60 FPS, 2K 120 FPS, and then you have the 1920 by 1080 HD, which is up to 120 FPS. And the frame rates are 23, 98, 24, 25, 29, 97, 30, 50, 59, 94, and finally 60. Now, maximum sensor frame rate depends on the resolution and codec that you have selected, but those are mostly the frame rates you're going to get from this camera. Now let's talk about the type of connections that you have with this camera that you can record audio off of. You can do video outputs and analog audio outputs as well. So on the 6K, you have a 1x3.5mm headphone jack. You have a USB Type-C for external driving recording, or a PTP camera control and software updates. For total video outputs, you have one HDMI up to 1080 by 60 frames per second. You have an analog audio input, which you have two of those, by the way, and you can use those to switch between microphones by phantom power, or you can even level them up by line level. So those are good too. Now let's move on to the FX30. So the recording format for the FX30 is incredibly long, so it'll be put here on screen. So pause the video and go ahead, take a look at those, and then continue. So unpause the video. So here are the main key specifications. You have a sensor, which is 26.1 MP. Then you have the output size, which is 6192 by 4128. I cannot pronounce that because I'm incredibly sleep deprived, as you can tell. Focal length mag is 1.5. Shutter speed is 30 by 1 by 8,000 seconds. Then you have a sensitivity video, which is ISO 132. And then you have a sensitive photo mode, which is ISO 25, 102, 400, and exposure is FASM B. So that's pretty much that. So the battery life for the Sony FX30 is 115 minutes approximately, or if you want to continue shooting for movies without charging, is 175 minutes. Now moving on to the Pocket 6K Pro, you only have an hour. So if you have a very long wedding that's going to be more than an hour, you're probably going to want to have an extra battery that's backed up and charged to continue shooting. So if you have one battery and you have a wedding or something that you're shooting that's longer than that hour, you're going to be in some trouble. Recording with 6K RAW at 24 frames per second to CFast 2.0 with the screen brightness at 50, it's going to save you a little more time with that battery, so you might have 2 or 3 more hours. It depends on what the settings you have on the display screen or the camera itself. So Sony has the advantage over the 6K Pro for battery life, and overall so far, I feel like the Sony FX30 is definitely going to be in the lead by a lot. I mean, you have specifications for recording wise, for storage wise, and ultimately port wise. You can build the FX30 into pretty much whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. So the Sony FX30 has a selection of 1 out of 4 over 20 different tripod holes that you can put mics, or you can put on gimbals, or you can try different monopods. You can also have a optional XLR cable adapter with the top handle that comes as a standard with the more expensive FX3, which takes up 2 mounting holes on either side of the hot shoe. Now over to the Blackmagic Design 6K Pro, different accessibility and different customizable options you have. You have the Condor Blue base, which is basically a case for the 6K Pro. It's basically like the same as the Sony a7 IV that my friend Zach Brown has around his camera. Then you have the small rig 15mm rails that you can put on the side for stabilization. Then you have the Inties 15mm lens support. So those are a few options you have for the 6K Pro for customizable options. And really what you can do it for both cameras, even though I said it for the 6K, you can do it also for the FX30. But anyways, the winner of this battle is the Sony FX30, not only because of stuff that you can do with the camera for customization, the film quality, and the FPS, but only does Sony have the cinema crown. I mean, it's always been like that. Sony's always been in front between Canon, Panasonic, and Blackmagic Design. Even though they have good HD quality cameras, FX30 has the cinema line pretty wound up. I mean, they just came out today with the Sony, A7R? I mean, the thing is a tank. You cannot take that camera down, even if anyone wanted to build something more powerful than that. But I'm going to wrap it up here. It's getting pretty late and I have other stuff to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. And that's going to be coming out here in a few days. A new podcast is coming out between me and Amanda Anderson going over her crazy faith story. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.